This is an incredibly traumatic time for members of the Australian Jewish community. It has also shaken our nation. Our nation will respond. We will hold people to account for what has occurred. We will give whatever powers are necessary to our police forces, to our security and intelligence agencies arising from this act of terror, an act of anti-Semitism that we saw play out on Sunday night.
Australia is in mourning as the first funeral is held for victims of the Bondi Beach shooting. Crowds gathered quietly as the nation reflected on the depth of the loss. At least 15 people were killed in the Sunday attack that has shaken the nation. The first funeral honored Rabbi Eli Schlanger, known as the Bondi Rabbi. A father of 5, he was remembered as a towering and holy soul. The service was held at the Chabad of Bondi Synagogue under heavy security. Senior political figures attended the funeral in a rare show of unity. Opposition leader Susan Ley joined former Prime Minister Scott Morrison. New South Wales Premier Chris Minns was also present among mourners. Another funeral is expected later today for Rabbi Yaakov Levitan. He was also among the 15 victims killed in Sunday's attack. Families continue to prepare for burials as shock grips the community.
Yeah, well, obviously the community is extremely shaken. The writing has been on the wall for the past, two and a bit years. Since October 7, there have been insults that have been slurs that have been thrown against us. They have graffitied on our homes and on our institutions. There have been fire bombings against our synagogues and daycare centers. And we all felt that this could happen. The next step of hate after graffiti, after firebombing, will be bloodshed. But we never actually thought this day would come. And then it came on Sunday. And we're grieving now but do we feel safe? The answer is not really, if I'm to be honest. We thought we were safe. Our grandparents and great-grandparents, Holocaust survivors, many of them came to here to escape hate and to escape bloodshed, pogrom, persecution. And we're finding it here again. It's raising its ugly head. There has to be a zero tolerance for hate. That's what we need to see, not just in words, but in action, real action. And that's what we haven't seen. And that's why I think I know there's fear in the community, for gatherings, for events. And this has now been an unfathomable tragedy that has shaken all of us. And we won't be the same. Let this be a turning point for all of Australia as to the dangers and horrors of hate. We must do something.
For the last 2 years, the Jews have been on high alert. I think we've always been conscious of our own safety. We go into a restaurant, we know where the exits are. Certain areas we may not want to wear our Magen Davids or our kippot or hide them under a hat. And I think that's, we've seen that globally in Australia too. Safety-wise, in terms of what I do differently, I don't think there's much more that we can do. I think we just need the support.
I go to Israel. My son lives, I've got my oldest son lives in Israel. And when I'm there, I feel safe because an attack like that, I was speaking to a friend yesterday who called from Israel. He said an attack like that would have lasted 8 seconds in Israel because everyone's armed. Not everyone's armed, but enough people are armed, and they know what to do, and they're trained, and they know what to do. So it shouldn't come to that here. I'd be mortified if it came to that here. We should be able to, be who we are and not be afraid.
Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has vowed decisive action against anti-Semitism. He promised expanded powers for police and security agencies. Albanese said those responsible will be held fully to account.
I'll continue to look for what unites us, and I've seen that here this morning. We need to learn any lessons that are learnt from this, undertake stronger action, undertake any legislative change, undertake any powers, additional powers that are needed across the board. To work with the Jewish community, we want to stamp out and eradicate anti-Semitism from our society. We want to also stamp out the evil ideology of what would appear to be, from the investigators, an ISIS-inspired attack. That has no place, that sort of hatred. It is difficult, and this is something the world is dealing with. It is indeed, as you identify, hard to legislate against such massive hatred and people who have this perversion of Islam that leads them to support Islamic State and to have a view that somehow there is some reward for them. There is not. I say that the battle against anti-Semitism has been around for a long period of time. We've called out and will continue to call out. We'll work with the community. I had discussions with community leaders last night. We'll do whatever's necessary to work with the community to stamp out the scourge of anti-Semitism.
In the United States, President Donald Trump called for a global fight. Speaking at the White House Hanukkah reception, he condemned radical Islamic terrorism. Trump also warned of rising anti-Semitism and pledged support for Jewish communities.
Let me take a moment to send the love and prayers to our entire nation, to the people of Australia, and especially all those affected by the horrific and anti-Semitic terrorist attack, and that's exactly what it is, anti-Semitic, that took place on a Hanukkah celebration in Sydney. What a terrible, terrible thing. We don't learn. We're joined in mourning all of those who were killed, and we're praying for the swift recovery of the wounded. Some are very horrifically wounded, as you probably know. All nations must stand together against the evil forces of radical Islamic terrorism, and we're doing that. As President of the United States, I will always support Jewish Americans, and I will always be a friend and a champion to the Jewish people. I have been. And I will say, you know, if you go back 10, 12, 15 years ago at the most, the strongest lobby in Washington was the Jewish lobby. It was Israel. That's no longer true. You have to be very careful. You have a Congress in particular which is becoming anti-Semitic.
Meanwhile, health authorities say 21 people remain hospitalized across Sydney. One victim is in a critical condition as doctors continue treatment. The family of an injured police officer say he has lost vision in one eye. The surviving suspect, Naveed Akram, is reportedly out of a coma, but he remains under hospital care as investigations continue. A second suspect, identified as his father, Sajid, died at the scene.